Thanks for tuning in, and welcome back to Costa Rica. In our previous episodes, we picked up our rental from Nomad America, headed south along the Pacific coast, discovering beaches, thermal springs, waterfalls, and some great fried chicken. We explored the Osa Peninsula, saw some amazing birds and fish, and then experienced the clouds in completely different scenery as we crossed over from the Pacific to the Caribbean. We had our first tropical downpour just north of Panama, and then headed back across into the North Pacific, where we found the icy waters at Playa and started making our way south, ending up at Playa Matapalo. Though we were camped right beside the Rio Guanacaste resort, we didn't find it to be crowded or noisy. Although we were blasted by high winds and blowing sand, we saw our first morning turtle tracks, unfortunately leading to a washed-out nest, and enjoyed walking along the beach and relaxing in our hammocks. With so much empty beach to explore, you would never know there was a huge resort right beside us. We also saw a few interesting critters, like this guy, we presume to be some sort of squirrel. Soon, it was time to pack up and see what new things we could find down the road. So we took a few minutes, folded up the rooftop tent, and hit the trail. Our next planned stop was just a short drive down the road, but before we could even make it off the beach trail, we came to a quick stop. Our first monkey encounter. It quickly became apparent that these monkeys were quite used to people, as they seemed to get fed fruit on a regular basis from the tourists staying at the resort and walking down the beach. In fact, we understand that even though it's generally not advised to, the resort suggests that guests take fruit with them as they walk down the beach to feed the monkeys. These are white-faced capuchin monkeys, and they are considered to be the most intelligent primate in the Americas. They live in large groups of up to 30 monkeys and live for 15 to 25 years and average about 1 to 2 feet long. Compared to other monkeys in the New World, the white-faced capuchins spend a lot more time on the ground. These ones sure seem to have humans figured out, and though slightly cautious, seem to have no real fear of people. After spending some time with the monkeys, we managed to find our way out and followed the winding roads through the hills and valleys to our next beach camping destination. As we got closer, the paved roads once again turned to dirt, very washboarded dirt, which made for quite slow going. If you've ever considered purchasing vehicles from Central America and hearing stories that they get rattled apart, it's the roads like this that do it. The road eventually turned into a washed-out dirt path with some interesting, mildly off-road suspension twisting undulations. Nothing too crazy, but just enough to be fun. Eventually, through the trees, we could see the beach.
This is Playa Minas. It's in the North Pacific corner of Costa Rica in the province of Guanacaste. And this is a pretty amazing little beach. It's fairly far off the beaten track. I'd recommend 4x4 to get here. You could probably get here without it, but I'd recommend it. And you definitely need some high clearance. This is a really, really secluded beach, and other than some occasional 4x4 tours, this is the kind of place you want to come to in Costa Rica. One of the interesting things that you may not know about Costa Rica is they have a law that says nobody can own, I believe this is the law, nobody can own within 50 meters of the high tide line. That's public property. So basically anywhere along a beach that you can get access to that's within 50 meters of the high tide line is fair game for public use, in most places including camping. So all of these beaches, I'm just going to flip the camera around here, like this, where you can drive to the beach, you can camp. There are going to be a few places where you see posted signs that say, according to law number this, you can't be on the beach, and that's correct. You're not supposed to be on the beach, but you can be just back from the beach. It's pretty common to have houses behind the 50-meter setback, and you're not parking on their land. They do not own the land within 50 meters of the high tide mark.
We noticed an interesting phenomenon here at Playa Minas, and I have a few theories, but if you know what's going on here, let us know in the comments section. As the waves of the incoming tide reach the high part of the beach, small bubbling air streams shoot up from the sand. I'm not sure if this is caused by something like crab burrows, or if the water sinking into the sand is forcing the air out and it just happens to concentrate in spots. After walking barefoot on this sand in the midday sun and knowing how hot this sand is, it kind of gives the appearance that it's boiling the incoming water. Whatever the cause is, it's neat to watch, and there seems to be an almost endless supply of air. Speaking of boiling water, it's time for some beach food. This may seem like pretty boring food to eat in such an exotic country, but if you've watched our previous episodes, you'll remember that we're doing this trip with no refrigeration, so we need to choose foods that can keep easily. And sometimes adding other foods that just need to be used up helps. And of course, hot sauce. Everything needs hot sauce. Now to sit and relax and watch the waves while we eat. Nothing but empty, peaceful, private beachfront. This is why you take the roads less traveled. Time for a snooze. The next morning, we started with a beach walk.
Can you see our truck down there? Completely empty beach.
Playa Minas, or Mine Beach, is given its name for its use as a mineral mining site during World War II. You may notice some reddish rocks and a red tinge to the sand, which is caused by the manganese which is being mined for use in explosives. While there are not a lot of visitors to this beach, Krista managed to make her first Costa Rican amigo, and they were best friends within seconds. They enjoyed hanging out in the sun and shade together, walking down the beach together, going for swims to cool off together, and generally making sure each other was still alive.
Dog. Dog. Wake up. There you are. Hi. Oh.
Since they were having such an enjoyable time, I decided to break out the mask and snorkel and the old GoPro 3 and take some super shaky underwater video footage. The water here on this day was pretty cloudy and full of debris, but there were still some neat things to see. Several different types of fish, crabs, and even a few urchins down deeper. I'm realizing that this GoPro does not do well with close-ups at all, but it's a solid little camera and it's far more waterproof than my phone. As I'm sure you've noticed, this footage has been stabilized using a free software called Emulsio, resulting in a watermark. If you want to see how shaky the original footage is, stick around at the end of this episode. As the day wound down, we decided to hike to the top of the cliffs, as we had heard that by taking the trail at the far end of the beach, we would be rewarded with an amazing view of the sunset. We followed the path to the west-facing cliff, but found that the view was actually better facing east, looking out over the beach where we were staying. After soaking in the golden hour sun, we made our way back down the path. Though it may not look steep, you most definitely wouldn't want to slip off the side. It's quite a drop. Thankfully, there are a few trees along the way that can help you with your balance, but I would warn you to make sure you look closely, as there are many trees and vines around here that don't seem to want to be touched. We've got one more night here, but it's going to be hard to leave in the morning. As much as we've loved it here, we did want to see what else was out there, so we packed up again and headed a bit farther south along the Guanacaste coast. Oh, and this is my favorite section of road so far. I think someone wanted to come with us, or was making sure we didn't get lost on the way out. Don't worry, dog. Playa Minas has had the perfect mix of temperature, humidity, and breeze. It has by far been the best spot we have visited, and it's hard to imagine finding a better place. I'm sure we will be back. The beach track led us back out to the washboarded roads, and then out to the paved roads, and eventually leading us back to civilization, where we had one mission. Chicken! Ah, Pollolandia, the new favorite fast food. But after several minutes of waiting, we discovered that they didn't have what they needed for the meal we wanted, so we left sin pollo. Though quite obviously they had pollo, as others left con pollo. Maybe it was just too early in the day. Luckily for us, Pollolandia is quite common, so with a few more lefts and rights, we located another one. And this time, after only a few minutes, we left con pollo. Next up on our to-do list was to locate somewhere to camp for the night. Today would prove to be one of the very few days where we had trouble locating the right spot. We tried this road in a somewhat dried up riverbed, but had concerns over mosquitoes or perhaps a fluke dry season midnight flash flood, so we retraced our steps for another potential spot. Using iOverlander, we decided to check out a spot by the soccer field at the beach, which, after following a few twisty back laneways through what felt like some people's backyards, a lot of zigzags, it brought us out to the beach. And, oh hey look, another Nomad America white Prado with a rooftop tent. Well, there's the soccer field and there's the beach, but something just wasn't quite right. So, after pausing for a few minutes to think, we again looped around to see what else was out there. The next spot was just down the road and had potential, but this time it really just didn't feel right. No idea why, but sometimes you just have to trust your gut. So that's exactly what we did. And after a short pause to be sure, we decided to try going up in elevation, away from the beaches, to see if we had better luck. While we saw some very nice houses with amazing views, we really didn't find anything that looked like we could be comfortable overnight, so we made the decision to push farther south to a beach called Bejuco. Now, you may remember that's the name of the beach we went to on our first night, but that's in a different province. This Bejuco was more remote than any beach we had been to yet, and as we started to push late into the day, we put all our eggs in one basket and had to go for it. I'm thinking we made the right decision. This very sparsely populated area gave the feeling of being shipwrecked on a desert island. Well, except for the road and the Landcruiser we were driving. The beach was miles long with absolutely no one in sight. Yep, I think this spot will do. We picked out a spot, backed under the palm trees, and set up just in time to catch the amazing sunset over the Pacific Ocean. This is why we set out to adventure the roads less traveled. Qué ubicación tan increíble. In fact, it was so amazing I had to capture it twice. I hope you enjoyed this part of our adventure around the amazing country of Costa Rica, and yes, there is still more to come, so make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. So here you go, some bonus unstabilized underwater footage. Let me know in the comments if you think it's worth me paying for the full version at $20 to remove the watermark versus buying a new GoPro with built-in stabilization at a much higher cost. It's not perfect, but man, what a difference.